Your alarm goes off at 6:45, normal Monday. You shower, make coffee, check your phone on autopilot the way you do every morning before your brain has fully loaded. Emails, weather, news alerts, and then you stop. Your name is in a headline, not a small headline, not a buried footnote in a media law blog, a headline on every major news site simultaneously, stacked like a wave that broke while you were asleep. You read it once, then again, then a third time because your brain is refusing to process the sentence correctly. The President of the United States has filed a $10 billion lawsuit against the organization you work for. $10 billion. You put the coffee down, you sit on the edge of your bed in your towel, and you stare at your phone, and for about 45 seconds you do not move. Your name is not in the lawsuit, not yet. But you were on the team that made the documentary. You were in the edit suite. You were one of the people in the room where the decisions got made. And in the particular legal and political firestorm now consuming every screen in the world, that fact is not going to stay quiet for long. You get dressed faster than usual. You are in the office before 8. The building feels different. You notice it the moment you walk through the security doors. The lobby is louder than it should be at this hour and quieter in a way that's hard to explain at the same time. People are at their desks, but nobody is doing work. Everyone is reading. Everyone is on their phone. The kind of collective suspended animation that only happens when something very large and very bad is in the process of landing on all of you at once. Your editor calls you before you reach your desk. You answer on the second ring. She doesn't say good morning. She says, "Are you in the building?" You say yes. She says, "Conference room 4, now." Conference room 4 is the small one nobody books voluntarily because the projector is broken and there aren't enough chairs. It is currently full of people. Your editor, the head of legal, 2 lawyers you don't recognize who are already on a video call with someone in another city, a senior producer, the head of the program division, the chair of the editorial standards board who you have never personally been in a room with before today. Everyone is holding a coffee. Nobody looks like they slept. The door closes. Someone pulls the blinds. Here is what you are told in the next 20 minutes. On the 15th of December 2025, in a federal courthouse in Miami, Florida, a lawsuit was filed on behalf of the President of the United States against your organization. The suit alleges 2 counts: defamation and violation of Florida's Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act. The damages sought are $5 billion on each count. Total demand, $10 billion. For context, the entire annual budget of your organization is approximately £4 billion. The lawsuit is seeking more than twice that, in American dollars, from a British broadcaster, filed in Florida. The lawsuit centers on a documentary your team produced, a panorama investigation titled "Trump: A Second Chance," broadcast 1 week before the American presidential election in October 2024. In the documentary, a clip was shown of the president speaking to supporters on the 6th of January 2021. The clip showed him saying in one apparently continuous sequence, "We're going to walk down to the Capitol and I'll be there with you. And we fight. We fight like hell." The problem is that those 2 sentences were not said consecutively. They were said 55 minutes apart. The edit combined them without flagging to the viewer that it was doing so. The section in between, where the president told his supporters he wanted them to demonstrate peacefully, was cut out. And the result, as the lawsuit will argue for as long as this case runs, is that the edit made it appear the president had issued a direct instruction to march on the Capitol and fight. The head of legal speaks slowly and very precisely. He says the organization has already issued an apology. He says the apology acknowledged an error of judgment. He says the organization has agreed not to air the documentary again on any platform. He says despite all of that, the president has filed the suit anyway. And he says that 2 of the most senior people in the building, the director general and the head of news, resigned 5 weeks ago, on a Sunday, in front of cameras, while the world watched. You knew about the resignations. Everyone knew about the resignations. You watched the statement from your living room, feeling something cold in your stomach that you filed away and did not examine too closely. Today, you are going to have to examine it. The lawyer you don't recognize speaks up from the video call. He says your name. He says you were listed in the production credits of the documentary. He says the legal team needs to speak with everyone who is materially involved in editorial decisions before the end of the week. He says do not speak to the press. Do not post on social media. Do not discuss the specifics of the production with colleagues outside of legally privileged conversations. He says if any journalist contacts you directly, you give them one sentence and one sentence only. All questions should be directed to our communications team. You nod. Everyone nods. The meeting ends. You walk back to your desk and sit down and look at your screen and try to remember how to do your job. Your phone starts going in your pocket at 9:30, and it does not stop. Colleagues from other departments who just want to know what it was like being in that edit suite. Friends from outside the industry who saw the news and are texting things like, "OMG, are you okay and are you going to be fired?" A journalist from a rival outlet whose number you recognize and do not answer. Your mom, who has seen something on the television and is using the concerned but trying to sound casual voice she reserves for situations she finds genuinely alarming. You call her back. You tell her you're fine. You tell her it's a legal matter and you can't talk about it. She says she knows. She just wanted to hear your voice. You stay on the phone for 4 minutes and stare out the window at the gray London sky and feel something you will not be able to name precisely until much later. It is the feeling of being caught in the machinery of something enormous that has absolutely no interest in whether you personally are okay. The lawsuit is everywhere. Every channel, every website, every political commentator with a platform and an opinion, which is all of them, is filing copy in real time. The American legal experts are on the television explaining the actual malice standard. The actual malice standard is the legal bar a public figure has to clear to win a defamation case in the United States. It was established by the Supreme Court in 1964. It requires the plaintiff to prove that the defendant published a false statement, either knowing it was false or with reckless disregard for whether it was true or not. It is deliberately a very high bar. It is designed to protect press freedom. It is designed to make exactly this kind of lawsuit very difficult to win. Multiple legal experts are going on record saying the case is weak. One calls it a ridiculously hard number to sustain without a strong showing of an actual viewing audience. Another points out that the documentary never aired in the United States. It was broadcast in Britain. The claim that Florida has jurisdiction rests partly on the argument that some Floridians may have streamed the documentary using a virtual private network. The lawsuit does not cite a single specific example of this happening. You read all of this on your phone under your desk during a production meeting that nobody is fully present for. You feel briefly something like relief. Weak case, jurisdictional problems, hard to win. The legal experts are saying it out loud. It's going to be fine. Then you remember that ABC settled with the president for $15 million, that CBS settled, that the Wall Street Journal is currently defending a separate suit, that the pattern is not file lawsuit, lose lawsuit, move on. The pattern is file lawsuit, generate enormous international headlines, apply maximum pressure, and wait to see who blinks. The lawsuit is not necessarily designed to win in a courtroom. The lawsuit is designed to cost you so much in legal fees, management time, reputational damage, and political heat that settling starts to look like the rational option. You put your phone away. You try to focus on the meeting. You cannot focus on the meeting. The editorial meeting at 2 o'clock is the strangest professional experience of your career. You are a journalist. You work for a news organization. The news organization you work for has become the news. You are now in the position of watching colleagues in other departments cover the story of the lawsuit against your own organization in real time in the same building, while the legal team sends memos asking everyone to be careful about what they say and to whom. There is a particular kind of institutional vertigo to this. You are inside the building that is inside the story. Every word being written about this situation by your colleagues in the news division is a word about a situation you are personally implicated in. You cannot talk to them about it. You cannot contribute to the coverage. You are professionally gagged by the very legal process that is making headlines 2 floors above you. Your producer pulls you aside after the meeting. She has been in this industry for 22 years. She has covered wars, financial crashes, multiple governments, one global pandemic. She looks at you with the particular expression of someone who has been through things and come out the other side, and she says something you will think about for a long time afterwards. She says, "The edit was wrong. That's just true. It wasn't malicious, but it was wrong." And the thing about working in this industry is that when you get something wrong at this scale, the consequences are not proportional. They never are. You just have to get through it and be better. You ask her if she thinks the organization will settle. She looks at the middle distance for a moment. She says, "I think the decision about whether to settle will be made by people in rooms we will never be invited into, based on calculations we will never be shown, and we will be told about it in a press release." You nod. That is probably exactly right. The weeks that follow are a specific kind of slow-motion difficult. The legal process moves at the pace legal processes move at, which is to say glacially and expensively. The lawyers on both sides file motions. The jurisdictional question alone will take months to resolve. In February 2026, a federal judge rules that the case will go to trial. Not immediately. In 2027, 18 months from now, 18 months of this hanging over the building, over the organization, over everyone whose name appears in those production credits. The press secretary for the president calls the organization 100% fake news and a propaganda machine on American television. The president posts on his social media platform that the top people at the organization quit or were fired because they were caught doctoring his speech. He calls it a perfect speech. He says the people responsible are from a foreign country, and it is a terrible thing for democracy. The post gets millions of views in hours. The British Prime Minister says he believes in a strong and independent press. The Culture Secretary draws a distinction between editorial failings and a sustained attack on the institution. Support is coming in. Support is also largely theoretical. It does not pay the legal bills. It does not stop the coverage. It does not make the atmosphere in the building any less heavy. You keep working. You come in every morning. You make your coffee. You sit at your desk. You do your job because the job is what you have, and the job does not stop for lawsuits or resignations or the ambient existential weight of being part of an institution that is fighting for its reputation against the most powerful person on earth. Some days it feels manageable. Some days you find yourself in the lift going up to the 4th floor and you stand there staring at the numbers and thinking about the edit. A 55-minute gap. 2 sentences that were never said together made to look like they were. It was not malicious. That matters, legally. It was an error of judgment. That is what the apology said. But you were in the building when those decisions were made, and the question of what you knew and when and whether you pushed back hard enough is the kind of question that does not have a clean answer, and that you are going to be carrying for a very long time. Here is what the legal experts will eventually conclude, and what history will record once the dust settles. The case has enormous structural problems. The actual malice standard is formidable. The jurisdictional argument is thin. The documentary never aired in America. The organization apologized early and publicly and took significant internal action. 2 of its most senior leaders resigned. These are not the behaviors of an organization that acted with knowing disregard for the truth. They are the behaviors of an organization that made a serious mistake and tried imperfectly to own it. But this case was never only about winning in court. It was filed in December 2025 as the 3rd media lawsuit from a sitting American president in a single year. Before that year, not one sitting American president had ever sued a news outlet. In 12 months, it had become, if not normal, then at least expected. A pattern, a tool, a way of using the legal system not as a path to damages, but as a path to pressure. File in Florida, seek an astronomical number, generate headlines, apply heat. Wait, the question of whether the case will actually go to trial in 2027 remains open. The question of whether it will be settled before then also remains open. Both sides have made public statements about their intentions to fight. Both sides know that public statements and private calculations are different things. What is not open is the effect this has already had on the organization, on the people who work there, on the broader landscape of international journalism, where broadcasters in other countries are now watching this case and thinking about their own editorial decisions with a new layer of consideration that did not exist before: the chilling effect. The invisible force that doesn't require a court victory to work. All it requires is the credible threat that the most powerful office in the world is willing to come after you with everything it has if you get something wrong. You don't have to win the lawsuit to win the argument. You just have to make everyone in every edit suite in every country think twice before they cut. You still work there. You still come in every morning. You still make the coffee. The documentary is gone, pulled from every platform. It will not be shown again. The director general who built the organization into what it is resigned on a gray Sunday morning and stood outside the building and said he was taking ultimate responsibility and then walked to a waiting car. The head of news said the buck stops with her and stepped down a day later. 2 decades of combined leadership gone in a weekend. What remains is the institution, older than television itself, older than most of the governments it has covered, a building full of people who believe, with varying degrees of certainty on varying days, that what they do matters, that accurate information matters, that the space between what someone said and what someone meant and how that gets edited and framed and presented to the public is not a technical question. It is a moral one. And that getting it wrong has consequences that don't respect borders or jurisdiction, or the question of whether a Florida court can hear a case about a British documentary that never aired in the United States. You sit at your desk. You open your laptop. You start writing. Because the story doesn't stop. The world doesn't stop. And whatever else this year has taken from this building, it has not taken the one thing that makes it worth coming in every morning. You still have something to say. You're just going to be a lot more careful about how you say it.